She looks over to me, says, your dad denied you as his son.
I'm all about unpacking and going there. And I'm like, dang, like you really never accepted that.
The weight is on your shoulders. I didn't have that opportunity, so a lot of the things that I had to do was either self-taught or eventually when God came into my life, I had to allow God to shape me into the man that I need to be.
God didn't allow you to have a father because he wanted himself to be your father.
I wasn't talking about it. I wasn't communicating. I just transferred all that energy to something else.
You're the last one we would think would ever forgive him.
That mindset is making me think about you kind of were denied. What would you say to someone who may be in that moment right now?
All right, welcome back to the Building Side by Side podcast. I'm your host, Christian.
Frank.
And today we have a lovely guest, Mr. Darius West.
In the building.
Director Darius West.
Mr. West is in the building.
Mr. West is in the building joining us today. Man, how things been over this past 2 weeks now?
Yeah.
Because we missed filming last week.
Yep.
But how you been, bro?
Man, been great. Last week was 4th of July, right? So I kind of took it a bit easy, just hung out with the fam and got that quality time in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What about yourself, bro?
Yeah, I know. We were supposed to hit it that Friday.
Yeah.
But then it was July 3rd.
Thursday you had a lot of work going on.
Yeah, we were filming and doing a whole bunch of stuff. Yeah, it's been a lot of just recording. Even right before this, I was filming some VSLs and some ads for Kairos, right, for the MK Lab, and we're gonna be launching the in-person workshops here soon.
Yeah.
Nice. Starting in August. So I'm starting to build up all the marketing and promo stuff for that. So that's been coming around. But yeah, I tried to take it easy, but July 4th, we ended up walking the parade.
Mm-hmm.
So we were able to represent Kairos at the Mira Mesa parade, walking alongside the Epicenter Teen Council. And so, yeah, I've recently gotten involved as one of the Teen Council advisors for the Epicenter, right?
Nice.
And so, yeah.
Teen Council advisor, you said?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm one of the Teen Council advisors. So we've been hosting the Teen Council meetings here until the Epicenter opens up, not to the public, but at least for the teens to be able to meet. And so their main objective of the Teen Council is to initiate the programming that they want, right, during the 3 to 7 hours at the Epicenter. So the Epicenter is a Teen Council event space. They used to do a lot of concerts there back in the day when I was in high school, and it closed for about 10 years because it just went downhill. It was owned by a nonprofit at the time. The county recently bought it out. San Diego County bought it out, and then they put $10 million into renovations for the space. And so they're going to be doing some programming for teens from 3 to 7. Then it's open from the public from 10 to 3 for just other programming, adult programming and things like that. And then after 7, it's going to be open till about 10 o'clock so that you can use it for events or baby showers, whatever the case may be. Yeah. They're going to try to raise revenue in other ways than just being a music venue, which was what's its original intent was supposed to be when it was built back in 1990.
Yeah. Where's it located?
It's right there on Mira Mesa Boulevard, right across from the Mira Mesa High School and next to the IHOP.
Okay.
Yeah. It was actually the original Mira Mesa library before the new library was built.
That parade always happened too?
Yeah. So the
4th
parade,
of July, they do one.
So the parade's been gone for a couple years, and this is the first time it's been back in some odd years. You had the Marines come out, the Marine drum roll come out. You had police, fire department, police in training. You had city council members there.
Yeah,
it was huge.
Yeah.
It was super dope. We had the lowrider community of Mira Mesa come out.
Okay. Saw some fireworks on the 3rd. Some of those cars out at the what park it is over in Mira Mesa.
Oh, Hourglass.
Yeah.
So they did a car show at Hourglass too.
You were out that way too?
Yeah, we went on that Friday.
Okay.
We took the family Friday to the Hourglass because my wife, she goes to Mesa College. Miramar College.
Miramar College, yeah.
So it was right there. And so she knew about it, so we all went, checked it out.
Gotcha. Right. Yeah, so we got to walk that parade on that 4th, and then our niece's birthday is also the 4th, so we always do like a brunch with her, and then we go celebrate like as a family for dinner and stuff like that. Yeah. Doing barbecue and whatnot. So yeah, and then went to church the next day.
Yeah.
How about you, Darius? What'd you do?
Ooh, for the 4th or just in general?
Yeah, that weekend.
Oh, that weekend.
Yeah. Well, how'd you celebrate your freedom? your freedom.
My 161 years of freedom. It was, I posted stuff about that. I'll say we signed the Declaration of Independence in 1776.
Yep.
But we as African Americans weren't free till really 1865. So I'm celebrating 161 years of independence.
True.
So yeah, on the 3rd, we went to the Hourglass community park, enjoyed that, took the girls out because on the 4th they all had plans with their friends. That's when you have teenagers and college kids, so it's all about friends. So we enjoyed that. We bought stuff from the vendors, brought our chairs out and blankets out, good food, good things. And we left before the fireworks because we figured we'll see fireworks the next day. So my wife and I, we went down to, I think we're gonna make this a tradition. We went down to Little Italy, and we parked there. We drove around for like 30 minutes trying to find parking, but we found parking.
It'd be like that.
Yeah, and it seemed like just where everybody was hanging out. Everybody was eating, they was drinking, they was like grabbing ice cream, whatever, until it was time for the fireworks, and everybody walked down to the waterfront park and enjoyed the fireworks. I said, we gotta do this like every year, bro. Just go down here, park at Little Italy, find something to eat. We went to Filippi's. And I planned it. So, okay, this is my meal today. This is gonna be half my meal tomorrow after service at the church because they use a big old has the lasagna, pasta. I had all. I say, half of this for tomorrow. So I want to save room for salt and straw, on the way down to get some of that while I'm headed to the fireworks. I said, I like this vibe. It's like no pressure. I got to cook nothing. We just go down to Little Italy, do our thing, and go to waterfront front. So I think we're gonna do that.
I love it.
Like even next year, we're gonna bring the girls this time. It's like, let's do this as a family.
Yeah.
And so it was really nice. Really nice. I had a good time. Last year we didn't really do anything, so this year we was intentional to really do something.
That's good.
And watch football. You know what I'm saying? Watch some football.
The World Cup's going on.
World Cup was happening.
That's
so
right.
FIFA was watching that. Throughout 3rd and 4th. Of July, either I was listening in the car or when I get to somewhere, I'm, watch it. So been enjoying that.
That's good.
As well, I was pulling for Cape Verde. They didn't pull it off.
Nope.
But they almost did.
USA also gone.
They got
Mexico
trashed.
gone.
Yeah. Mexico, man.
Yeah.
Those guys from England, those are like NBA players. Man, every time Mexico try to kick something, they like their leg be like this and just block it like, dang, dude, these guys is crazy tall.
Yeah. I'm not a big soccer fan at all by any means. I'm more on like football, basketball, baseball. But when the World Cup comes around, I'm
the city
not
was
glued to it, but
for the World Cup this time.
Oh yeah.
Mexico, especially over there at 3rd Ave in Chula Vista.
Well, because they were playing, in California.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And so
big deal.
Yeah, it was a big deal. You had people flying in from all over the world. You know what I mean.
Yeah.
And staying out here in San Diego and LA and the Bay Area and stuff.
Yeah.
So it was cool to see.
Yeah, a friend of mine was actually in Germany when Germany lost to who did they lose to? I forget who they lost to, but they lost, and I said, "It's Germany, boy. They're probably getting drunk for real." He's like, yeah, he was over there for like 3 weeks, but but over there in Europe, that's their
the culture.
Sport.
Yeah,
that's the culture. So being over there, he got to experience that firsthand. He said it was pretty cool.
Yeah,
yeah.
My brother was out there during the Olympics, the Winter Olympics, and he's there right now in France, but for work. But he said it was super dope, like just seeing, like he got to hop because he was going to like London, Germany, France, Spain, all in that one trip.
Yeah.
And so they were playing the Olympics in all the different towns, like people think that it's only in one place, but they're actually doing these events at at different spots.
Yeah,
different parts of the country. And so he said it was pretty cool. Expensive. It's really expensive over there. He said it's more expensive over there than it is here in the States.
But the Euro.
Yeah. But he said he enjoys it.
Did you play any sports growing up, bro?
Yeah, I play soccer. I played soccer, basketball, football.
Okay.
We played it all. My mom had us in everything. So
that's right. Yeah.
So even watching, soccer or football, I was like, man, I'd be like, dude, what are you doing? Just kick the ball. He's right there, pass it. I was like talking like, I normally would if I was. And I played fullback, defense on when I was playing soccer growing up as a kid. And
what is that? There's a fullback in soccer?
Yeah, it's like it's considered a fullback or halfback, maybe, but it's like basically the three guys in the back who defend the goal.
Okay,
right.
cool.
So you have those three defend the goal. Then you have the because it's 11, so you got the goalie, you got the 3-3-3, and the 1, and so you have the 3 center. My brother, he was tall, still tall. He's like 6'4", but young. He was tall. He's left-handed. You know what I'm saying? Or left-footed, and so. Yeah. The one goal I made as a halfback or fullback back there, I kicked it. I just kicked it, just booted it. It went all the way to the goal on the other side, and my brother headbutted it in. It was like, it was like, you know what I'm saying. So I saw that, I saw how far they kick it, and I remember one time also, my mom has a picture of this, of me. It was a penalty kick, and so I was like probably the third string. Well, not even third string goalkeeper. It was like we ran out of goalkeeper, so the coach put me in as goalkeeper because the other 2 goalkeepers ran into the pole.
Oh, and knocked themselves out of the game.
And so it was a penalty kick, and so the coach had me play goalie or whatever, goalkeeper, and so. The little kid kicked the ball, whatever it is, a shot of me like, winning or like just getting it, whatever. Yeah. My mom has a shot of me just actually like, being a goalkeeper.
That's awesome.
So
it's in the living room still.
Yeah. She still got like, Mom, you still got this?
I'm gonna need to see that.
Back in the days where you can wear rec specs, you know what I'm saying? As they first came out. But yeah, so.
Hey, send us that picture. We're gonna put it in there.
Yeah, right.
I need to see that. I need to see
so
that.
So soccer
picture.
was probably my first love because we started playing. I was probably like 7 or 8. You know what I'm saying? I remember running a lot. I got big calves from running. All we did was run, man. Yeah. Coach Lloyd made us run all the time, but we enjoyed it. We was a great team. Of course, me and my brother was only black people on the team. We was in the South, and but we would beat teams like 11-1 and 13-0, and in the championship. I remember vividly. We had a championship game, and it was in the rain. And all the parents were in their car, so whenever the goal was, we would make a goal, they'd honk their horns. We'd be a slide tackling in the mud, and it was
wow,
real cool. And so,
how competitive were you?
Man, very, bro.
Yeah.
For me, I think that's kind of where I got my prowess for defense, just being a defensive player. Because even when I played basketball later, I was all about defense and stealing the ball. So I even trained my daughters when they were playing basketball at the Y. That's and it was a co-ed or guys and girls. I told them, I was real straight when I said, hey, these boys are not gonna pass you the ball.
Yeah.
So you're gonna have to steal it to get your point. So you're gonna have to steal the ball from the opponent to make it happen for yourself. So my youngest at the time, Valentina, she won Defensive Player of the Year because all she did was steal the ball, go down to the court and score.
Nice.
And so I'm always like, always been like a defensive type of person. Always fast, but always about stealing the ball and just, going to the other end and making it happen for my players.
Great defense is the best offense.
Yeah. So
the reason why I ask is I had like a recent moment with myself, right? Where I unpacked like my competitiveness in my, like you said, your first love was that, right? And like my first love was football, right? So like, and I'm so competitive, like I don't give up on anything.
Yeah.
And I like unpacked the fact that like, damn, I never gave up on football.
Yeah.
Like it just happened that like I didn't pursue it to the next level, right? Like it was like, everybody was doing their college applications, everybody was doing that, and I'm over here just like, didn't have the grades for it, right? But I wasn't talking about it. I wasn't communicating. I just transferred all that energy to the next, to something else. Yeah. Which was like music was simultaneous and all that.
Yeah.
But it was funny with me because I'm all about unpacking and going there. And I'm like, dang, like you really never accepted that to, you know, because that was what I said elementary school. I'm going to the NFL.
Yeah.
My whole life, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna make it. It's a delusional sense of self-confidence, right? So that's why I asked if you're competitive, because I take that so much in like everything I do, right? Whether it's business, whether it's anything, you know. But I had that moment with myself where I kind of laughed at myself for it, you know. And I'm like, man, you never really gave up on that, you know. You never talked to nobody about like, oh yeah, nah, I'm not gonna play football. Nah, I just slowly transitioned to music, you know what I'm saying? Sore loser, just didn't really kind of face it, you know what I mean? But that was my first love as well, you know. But it's crazy how that competitiveness it still goes into everything I do. Yeah, you know what I mean? Yep. So, and I feel like we're all three kind of got that dog, that competitive. I played with this guy, you know, even pickleball, bro. It's like
we played him in what game did we play?
Phase 10.
Oh yeah, Phase 10.
Phase 10.
He was like all like I was like, yo, okay.
You gotta wake up.
Yeah, man. I got to Phase 8. I think I got to Phase 8 in one night.
So, I
was winning every round, every round. Steph and Cinda, his wife, were like on like Phase 3 or 4. By the time I was on like Phase 7 or 8, man, it was like my first time playing too. And I was just, every time I won a round, I was just like, stomp over.
I was like, okay.
Yeah. I had like 25 points by the end of the night, bro.
Yeah.
That's nuts, by the way. That's nuts, by the way.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
My first love was actually tennis, because that's when my stepdad came into my life. And my stepdad, he came from football background. He played at Georgia. He played for the Bulldogs, tore his ACLs, and then got into tennis from that. And so he played 4 years of tennis at Georgia. And that's the way he was able to keep scholarship and things like that.
Wow.
And so when he came into my life at 7, that's the first sport I got into. And so it's always been about like racket sports for me. So I went tennis to ping pong, and now we're here at pickleball.
Progression, right?
Yeah, progression. But yeah, it was tennis for a long time, and just seeing, you know, Roger Federer and James Blake, and Nadal play, Serena Williams, right? The Williams sisters. Man, it was crazy. Growing up through that whole era, you know?
Yeah.
And then also football. Like football was like super big, but then I got the concussion. I was like 12 years old, and my mom was like, heck no, like you're out. You're completely out. And my dad didn't have that opportunity to be able to like raise me up in that, you know, like to actually dad me. You know what I mean? He wanted to, like, you know, we talk about it to this day. He's like, your mom would not let me. Your mom wouldn't let me do that, you know? And it brings me back to the conversation that we had, or not the conversation, but when you led a service on Father's Day, you know, going back to how important it is as a father, right? That the weight is on your shoulders.
Yes.
You know, you need to be training up your children, you know, and I didn't have that opportunity. So a lot of the things that I had to do was either self-taught, or eventually when God came into my life, I had to allow God to shape me into the man that I need to be, you know, and to raise me up as a father. You have a very similar background for yourself, right?
Yes.
Talk to me a little bit about what it's like to now raise a family of all women in your household. And what it's like, some words of wisdom, being like, you know, I'm not going to age you right now, but being a little bit, you know, wiser, more gray than I am. Talk to me about what it's like to be a father, and how to raise, especially stepchildren, right? Or a stepdaughter. A stepdaughter.
We call a bonus daughter.
Yeah, your bonus daughter.
Yes.
What's it like for you to be building that household for you?
Yeah, you know, just going back to the history of having or not having a father present, like, you know, like you did for some time. You know, I grew up in a household full of women. You know, it was my grandma, my mama, my aunt, my baby cousin, and it was us 3 boys. Me, my older brother Manuel, and my cousin brother Dante. So we all grew up in the same house together, but it was ran by strong Black women. You know. And so my eventual love for football came from my grandma, You know, she was a big time football
Wow.
player. Not football player, but football lover, right?
Yeah.
A lover of football. She was a,
we talking about what football? Football?
like
Football.
actually
American
American
football.
football.
American
Yeah,
football.
American football.
Okay.
Yeah, the soccer.
You threw me off with the soccer background.
Football.
The soccer thing is what my mom got us into.
Okay.
My mom got us into soccer. She got us into tennis. She got us mostly into sports that normally black kids in our neighborhood wouldn't do,
Right.
or didn't want to do, right?
Yeah.
So it made us very, versatile, and even in how we communicate to people. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't. She didn't keep us in this box, and I appreciated her for that. Just being able to do football, being able to do tennis. I remember doing a tennis match, and I won like 40 love, in this championship and stuff like. But it was like my mom had the Chris Everett racket in her closet. She played tennis, and so those kind of things. Cool. But like I said, but my love for football, American football, came from my grandma. She was a Cowboys fan. She was a Lakers fan. She was a Yankees fan. So anything that she liked in terms of sports, I gravitated to.
Got the Yankees hat on right now.
Got the Yankees hat on still this day, man. So
Emmitt Smith jersey probably. Huh?
Yeah, I got Emmitt Smith. I got Dak. I got all those guys. Zeke. But yeah, so growing up in a household full of strong black women, you're at that time you're a latchkey kid. So you go to school, you have a key around your neck, a little string. So you come home, everybody at work, so you were home by yourself. So I was basically raised up watching TV, doing homework. You know what I'm saying? That was like, that kept, even to this day when I'm doing anything, I gotta have some kind of something happening in the background, whether it's music or something visually. It helps stimulate my creativity. But it was at eight years old when I first met my dad. And the amazing thing about that moment was, I was always an artist. I was always drawing stuff, right? And I remember to this day my grandma waking me up, hey, Frank is here, Frankie, my dad's name is Frankie. And I was like, oh yeah. So I always heard his name, saw pictures, but never actually met him. You know what I'm saying? And so he was in the living room. It was kind of dark or whatever. My grandma had the little, plastic on the couches and everything. Little kid in his pajamas running in. I'm showing him all the pictures I done drew, and he's like, and at the same time, he's recreating what I had drawn. I was like, oh, so there was a point where I had some identity, right, as an artist. Like, where did I get this from, right? And that was a connection I had at 8 years old. That I look back, it's like, man, it kind of, to me, in my little brain, it confirmed to me like this is my dad, right? And we had artists in our family. My uncle Clarky, but this was the first time. But he had passed away before then. It was the first time I had met my dad. It wasn't until then, like around that same time, maybe a year before or after, I met my other brother and sister. That was from their mom, and we was in Charlotte. We went through it's a store called Family Dollar. I think it's now on the West Coast, but it started on the East Coast, right?
The yellow one, right?
Yeah.
Yellow
We were walking through there with me and my mom and my brother, and my mom was like, "Oh, there go your sister and brother right there." We was like, "Wait, what?" And so that's the first time. First time I met my half sister and brother, Sean and Friendier, who I'm really close to now. But it was just kind of going through that moment of not having a father figure in my life, having strong women in my life. Then later, this is probably 2 or 3 years after I met my dad that he denied me as his son. So I'm seventh, 8th grade, right? In between that, going to court, proving, my mom trying to prove that I'm his son, my dad's son. Had to do, urine tests, blood tests, all this kind of stuff. And even, this is actually in the movie that I've written this script called Thornton Road. It's about my life growing up, throughout this era. How at the time my dad's lawyer was like grilling me on the. I was on the witness stand. I'm a kid,
At 7th, 8th grade.
I'm 10, 11 years old. He's saying, that blood that you is. I think, isn't that your brother's blood? It's like,
wow.
Their urine. Is that, it's like you little kids, like, no, that was my blood. Or, so, what I'm saying? But thinking about that, like, dang, man, he was like trying to make it seem like, it wasn't me that went to, to the doctor and took my blood and took the blood, my urine. So that was kind of like that moment where even prior to that, like probably could be 6 or 9 months before that case had showed up. My mom had by that time she had a blue Chevrolet Cavalier, but we grew up with her having a yellow Toyota Corolla, but anytime we would ride with my mom, it would always be me and my brother. She never left us with anybody. When she goes, we go. If she's going off, like, we say, when you like about to go somewhere, I'm about to go off. It's a Southern thing. That means like you about to go somewhere. When my mom was about to go off, we gonna go off with her. But it was this one time, this is prior to the court case and everything else, where it was just me and my mom. I'm like, man, this is weird. You know what I'm saying? Where Manuel at? We didn't call him Manuel. We call him Bug back then. It was Bug and Darius. But I said, where Bug at? And I remember, this is the early 80s. So Maranatha music was like the thing. That was like the Hillsong of the time, or Maverick music. That was like the worship standard, Maranatha music. And my mom was crying. I'm like, I'm thinking, she just worshiping God, bro. You know what I'm saying? And she looks over me. I'm in the front seat. This is when seat belts wasn't required. And kids to sit in the front. She looks over to me, says, your dad denied you as his son. And I remember looking out the window. I lived in North Carolina, a lot of trees. All I remember is just seeing trees, and it was kind of black from that point. I knew at that moment there was like emotionally, I probably couldn't even deal with it, but I just remember that moment looking out the window, and almost like from that point on, everything felt kind of gray, and so I talk about that moment in the film and in the script that I have for the movie of my life, but how from that point on to the court case, and eventually, of course, I was my dad's son, and then not truly meeting him until I was 21, 22, right? And out of all my siblings, because it was like 8 of us, right, between my mom, and my other 2 stepmoms, about 7 or 8 of us all together, and they all like, out of everybody that that's our dad's child, you're the last one we would think would ever forgive him. Because like he denied you, right? But I was the closest one to him. But I remember moving to LA or going to LA a lot because I lived in San Diego. And I was always having my heart, like, I want to ask him, like, why'd you deny me? I'm still this kid, right? I'm 25, I'm 30. It wasn't until 40 that me and my other brother, Sean, which is a whole nother story because we're like 7 days apart.
Wow.
Literally like 7 days apart.
Wow.
So they call us twins because, he's a light-skinned version of me and vice versa, but he lives in Atlanta. But so we just say, man, we're going to ask Pops because, Sean was adopted by his stepfather, and he felt the abandonment from our dad. I was denied, so we both had this like
bond,
had this bond. So we're gonna sit him down in the sushi restaurant and just ask him, like what happened. And we was both 40, about to celebrate our 40th birthday together for the first time, and it was like 3 grown men in a sushi restaurant just crying, bro. Because now you're a man and you kind of like see things through a different lens, right? And we understood, but forgiveness, all that kind of stuff happened. And this is probably a few days before we all, as men, all of my dad's sons and him, we all went celebrating me and my brother Sean's 40th birthday in Vegas. So this is some years ago. But I remember that moment. But I remember from 25 to 40 for 15 years having that in my gut, like I gotta ask him. But it just never felt like I didn't know what to say. What do you say? Well, it's there, but how you deal with it. But
so is that loss of like not having your father present in the house and even being denied from your dad, like what spearheaded you to become like the father that you are to your daughters, because like you're always there. Like,
definitely.
You always there. Like,
definitely.
DoorDash, Uber. What you need?
What you need? That was, I would not replace that moment. One of my spiritual fathers, and that's the thing. I've always had spiritual fathers in my life, right? Even though they were not my biological father, my spiritual father, and still today is Curtis Butler. He was the first one that kind of took me under his wing in that capacity. And I remember him telling me, he says, God didn't allow you to have a father because he wanted himself to be your father. And so I know my relationship with God and the closeness I had with him and still do have is because I didn't have a present father in my life, right? And so, and so that does speaks to what type of father I am now. My mom always says, you are hands-on father. I was like, you better believe it. I'm there. My daughters, I told my daughters, even though I was going through my divorce years ago, I told them I'll never abandon you. I'll never leave you. And so they were with me even still this day, like 90% of the time.
Yeah.
Right. And so, and it's because I know what it feels like not to have a father. And I didn't want them to ever feel like that.
Yeah.
So that mindset, like, it's making me think about, you're saying you were about 7th grade, right? Like, so from that moment on where you kind of were denied, and you're feeling all of that, it doesn't sound like you took a turn toward like bitterness, toward like, resentment, right? What would you say to someone who may be in that moment right now? What led you to this place, and to this kind of just sounds like you still had gratitude, even that you wanted to go ask that question. It was like, man, I just want to ask the question. It sounds like you had a good heart about it. You know what I mean? How do you think, why is the reason why you might have had a good way of handling that at that such a young age? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's, I think about that often. I even think about my middle daughter Valentina, and she has the same type of personality I do. Right, no matter what you do to her, no matter what happens, she's gonna have a heart of gold towards you. So I can only attribute that to God, right? Because it's not that I was better than anyone. It's just I always have a hope for a better future. It's never, it's hard for me to hold grudges. It's hard for me to, I think God just designed me that way for, whatever I have to do in life. Even today I think about it, like, do I have any enemies? I can't even think of anybody that I can say they're an enemy to me. I've had people steal my social security number, out of my mom's. I remember one time, I lived in Tulsa, and a friend of ours was kind of like a family member, stayed with us like for a summer. And I remember moving out and trying to get my own, get my place and try to get a phone line in my name. This is like Pac Bell and that kind of stuff. Like, no, you already have a phone in your name. I was like, wait, I just moved out my mama's house. I went for my. And then they said the person's name. I was like, this dude done stole my social security number. Even to this day, I know that, I forgive him, but he's still, to me, he's still family and friend. Yeah, I'll never bring it up, but it's like,
never burn a bridge.
Yeah, I've always been the person that if there's ever a bridge burned, I'm gonna definitely make the progress or make the attempt to make sure it gets reconnected. And I don't know if that's something that I was taught or is just innate, but that's the heart I have. So just to answer your question, there was never a doubt in my mind he was my father. It was more so like why, why I want to know why it happened. Yeah.
And then you said artists, like even growing up, your family were artists, and in which way? What sort of artists? Was that a form of therapy for you too? Maybe at that time, like, I
was always in front of the mirror, dancing and singing. My grandma was a trained opera singer. My mom was a musician, played the piano. We always had a piano in our house, always singing. My aunt always had Billy Ocean playing or Patti LaBelle or somebody, grew up in that environment. My uncle who was murdered by police, but he was great sculptor and great with his hand, artistry. My grandfather had a voice like water, just smooth like water, very athletic, tall. They call him the left hook king in North Carolina, a track. So music and athletic ability is like really goes throughout my family. I see those things in my daughters as well. So for me, I feel like I always had an outlet, some way to express myself to where I'm not just in a dark corner thinking about what life is going to be like. I'm always like, even now at this age, I'm like, okay, I never want to leave this earth with things still in me. I want to die empty. Every gift, every dream, every book, every song, anything that I have and imagine in God's place, I want to make sure I pour it out before I leave.
What is the one thing on the horizon that's that you are going to be pouring out pretty soon? What we got cooking up?
Oh, wait, so do you sing or something? You didn't tell me what
okay.
exactly
You want to go there? You want to go
You
there?
said a lot of what everyone else does.
Oh,
I know you as the director,
He danced.
Darius West.
Yeah,
I don't know.
He danced
sing,
with who?
So you
Kirk Franklin,
sing,
Fred Hammond.
I sing, dance, I draw, I write.
Okay.
Worship leader.
Worship leader done.
Right. So you lyrics?
Yeah, write
Lyricist?
lyrics.
Okay.
As well as screenplays and stage plays.
So were you making music at a young age at all, or were you just more?
I was rewriting music.
Okay.
I remember one time I rewrote a Stevie Wonder song. And my mama popped me in the mouth. Cause cause we grew up, very religious, in the Church of God, and like don't be writing, but I always had the credit. So at 15, when we moved to Tulsa, Oklahoma, that's when I discovered I had the gift to dance.
Okay.
Right? Because I grew up in Church of God, so only dancing was considered shouting. So you could, it's that. That's the only dancing you could do. And I was the ultimate church boy. You know what I'm saying? I was the ultimate church boy at church, but I was the ultimate street boy at home. You know what I'm saying? I can relate to both the streets and the church at the same time.
Yeah.
But I discovered Hammer when I moved to Oklahoma in 1988. You had BET, you had Video Soul, you had all those kind of videos, and so. At 15 which is kind of late to really discover you can dance, I actually toured with both Kirk and Fred. Like I said, I started dancing at 15. I choreographed my first number when I was a senior in high school. It was me and a bunch of girls. No guys wanted to dance. But even, like I said, we moved to Tulsa when I was 13. I was in ninth grade. But maybe 2 years prior to that, during the time I was going through the whole court case situation, my mom handed me a cassette tape. I'm dating myself. We had cassette tapes. We had Walkmans, right? Mm-hmm. And the cassette tape was an artist named Carmen. His album was called Radically Saved. He's Italian artist. Christian contemporary artist. He was Italian, but very Christian contemporary pop type. And so I would listen to that like every night, because during the day my mom worked at the bank. She worked for the Federal Reserve Bank during the day, and at night, like maybe 3 or 4 times a week in the night, she would clean up office buildings. So she'll drag me and my brother, to come in, and I would have my Walkman. I'll be listening to Carmen, right? It songs like Radically Saved, Lazarus Come Forth, and all the different songs. And I fell in love with his music. I didn't know. Looking back, I didn't know it was very therapeutic for me. Going, listening to his music. And I would always tell my brother, Manuelo, we're a year and a half apart. He's older than me. And I said, I'm going to know this guy one day. He's like, man, you crazy. You know what I'm saying? We little country boys and shout, how you going to know this dude, this white dude on here? You know what I'm saying? And so, we lived in the hood. So everybody be out, with their boom boxes. This is the 80s. They playing Eric B. Rakim, EPMD, outside, and I put my little boom box on the window. I'll be playing Carmen, like man, turn that stuff on, man. But I just fell in love, with this artist and his music, and I say, man, I'm gonna know this guy one day. I'm a kid, So fast forward, we moved to Tulsa, Oklahoma, because of my mom. She gets accepted to Oral Roberts University. So she goes there. We live about a half a mile away from the university at graduate housing, where all the students who had families would stay. It was an apartment complex. And so that's what I got introduced to. MC Hammer, go over to a friend's house. He's like, man, check out these videos. And I'll go back home when my mom wasn't there. I'll be in the mirror doing all the hammer and all the different moves. I'm like, oh, snap, I can really do this, right? And so... you have the older saints like, stop doing that boogaloo, you know what I'm saying? But I had a passion, and I felt like God wants me to do something with this, bro. Why am I able to do all this? And I'm supposed to sit around? And so, long story short, probably like 16 at the time. I'm a senior in high school because I graduated when I'm 17. So I'm a senior in high school. I do the choreography. Then I meet a gentleman called Morris Jackson. one of my good friends to this day, we started a Christian rap group. You know, this is 88, 89, when Christian rap was kind of still young. And we started a Christian rap group called DMT, Destiny Manifested in Time. It was me and him. And we went to a church that was very progressive in the things of God. It was Higher Dimensions Family Church, and eventually called Evangelistic Center, under the leadership at the time of Carlton Pearson. You know, this is, you know, prior to his change of doctrine, but, you know, he welcomed in these type of gifts and things that young people had a desire to do: sing, dance, choreography, rap. You know what I'm saying? So he always called it the backdoor evangelism. You know, he would take us on trips with him. You know, and I would go. Man, I was, as a senior, I was on the road three times a month, 3 weekends out of the month.
Wow.
I was in a different state.
Yeah.
With my mentor, Walter Jones, and this back in the day when you actually can, you know, he had 3 sons. So I'll be Malcolm one day, Alaska one day. You know, it was an airline, so they didn't care no more. You know, there wasn't no security. So, oh, this Alaska Jones, okay, go right in. You know, because at the time he worked for the airline, so he always got tickets.
Oh,
so
free tickets. Okay.
You know, and he was like a hip hop type of preacher. You know, he would be brought into churches and for youth events, and he always had me, and I'll be there rapping. You know what I'm saying? Rapping to young people and speaking. You know, and on couch sessions with, you know, the pastor, and I'm like, you know, I was a big, even to this day, big fan of Dr. Miles Monroe. Dr. Miles Monroe at that time became my spiritual mentor, you know, because he'll come to Tulsa all the time, and every time he'd fly into Tulsa, because Carlton knew I loved Miles so much, he was set up to where I would be in the car whenever they picked up Miles, right, and so Miles would just be pouring into me and have these times, so. You know, and so I'll be in I'll be in a different state. I can be in Detroit one day, I can be in DC, and I'm on the couch with like a pastor, and I'm talking about Miles Monroe. He's like, man, you know, this, you know, he like 16, 17 years old, you know, talk about this stuff, you know. So I was very, you know, into the things of God and about purpose and just exposed. I was around a lot of
so much.
Great leaders, right? You know, so around that time, you know, a senior in high school, we had a Christmas production. And so me and Morris, we along with Mookie, Michael Anthony Taylor, he's my one of my best friends, big brother, and he worked for Carmen and have Grammys and things with DC Talk and all those kind of groups. But those back we was always just, you know, trying to do our thing. He produced a track, and we sang it with the choir. And we had like hammer pants made for us, and that was back in the day where you really dance when you rap. You know, you be one guy jump up, you slide under the arm. You know what I'm saying? Slide the leg. You know, so Carmen was there. You know, Carmen went to the same church I went to. I didn't know until we moved there.
Wow.
And so I have this in my journal. I've been keeping journals since I was 15, so I can always go back and read this kind of stuff. And he approached me and Morris after, you know, the production. He's like, man, can you guys teach me how to do that? We was like, yeah. So as a senior in high school, man, I was going to Carmen's house like every week teaching them how to dance. Wow. Remember, this is like 3 or 4 years later, I'm in Charlotte, so I'm going to know this guy one day. Yeah. And here I'm in Tulsa. I'm in his living room. He has a dance floor built inside his living room. He brings in one of the very first, at the time, a CD juke joint. You know, a jukebox that only takes CDs. And so I'm in there teaching them the hammer and all these you know, great, you know, dances in the 90s at 16 years old, 17, 18, roll around. I'm doing music videos with him and DC Talk and all this kind of stuff. So I was exposed to a lot of stuff. And then I went to college for a year and a half at Oral Roberts University. My mom was there. I was there. My brothers, we was all at college at the same time. College. And so I still had this desire to dance. You know, I started a dance ministry under the leadership of myself, my god sister Deidre Ewens, and also her husband Adrian Ewens. We best friends to this day. Their son is my godson. Is you know, but we started this dance ministry called Steps of Praise. Me and Deidre in Tulsa, Oklahoma. This is like 1990.
Yes, well, that was over here too.
Yeah. We started the second chapter over here.
Oh yeah,
in San Diego.
Steps of Praise.
Yeah. So we started that in Tulsa, Oklahoma, in like 1990. I was a freshman in college, and 92. I was a freshman in college, and that grew, of course. Every year we do the Azusa conference, we would travel, things like I was, the lone choreographer. Then I'll train other choreographers under me because in '94 I had the opportunity to go on tour with Carmen, and this was the first. This is the first time any Christian artist would ever have any dancers, especially even on tour. So Carmen was always the person that pushed the envelope. He was always someone that broke barriers, and so myself and 3 other gentlemen were positioned for their role to be the first dancers ever on any kind of Christian tour. This before Kirk Franklin was anybody, and Fred Hammond was still part of Commission at the time. Commission was a group he came out of. And so that began my career, professionally as a choreographer and professionally as a dancer, traveling with Carmen. I remember writing in my journal before we went on tour, and kind of back up a little bit. I was planning to transfer to Morehouse. My mom didn't know at the time. It was my sophomore year. I was leaving Oral Roberts to go to Morehouse. I had my transfer papers all in, and then I got a call from Carmen Ministries because that summer prior I had did the Who's in the House video. It was the first music video I did, was got with dancers and the whole young people, and I had to an audition for that. I was like, Carmen, I got an audition, man. You know me, bro.
Yeah, I taught you.
Yeah, I taught you. Remember 2 years ago? But no, he said no audition, man. So I remember going to. I know I'm kind of all over the place. I'm kind of backing up, but I remember going to the dance studio. It was like probably 100 dancers out there, but all trained dancers. I wasn't trained, bro. I was like, I did all my dancing for the in the mirror. It's like, so it was like, from ballet to tap to jazz, and all, they were like, and I remember it was my time to kind of do the choreography because they had brought this choreographer from LA, so it was like a big deal, and I couldn't get that choreography, bro. She taught that choreography. I was like, what is this? And so it wasn't hip hop. It was like, combination of like jazz and maybe a little bit of street jazz, dance. But it was like, so I couldn't get it. But you know what? I was like, my energy was there. I was like, I ain't getting it, but I'm bam. You know what I'm saying? And she selected me, bro.
Wow.
Out of all like 100, artists, dancers, they chose all the 4 there. And I went up to her and said, why you pick me? I was like,
I can't even get this.
I can't even get this. She said, choreography, you always get choreography. Yeah. But I can't teach stage performance. She said, you light up the stage. I was like, what? And that was a lesson for me, knowing that it doesn't matter if you can't get the moves now. You'll get them eventually. What I'm looking at is for someone who can really bring emotion and the personality. That's why I chose you. And then, of course, later, Carmen's like, I never told her about you, but I knew she was going to pick you. I was like, and, that started, my tour with Carmen and the music video, then, of course, the touring. And so when I got the call to go on tour with Carmen, I'm in the fork of the road, right? I'm 18 now because 17, my mom.
Do I stay at Oral Roberts, Morehouse, or go on tour?
I wasn't going to stay at Oral Roberts. I know my mom probably would have wanted me to stay at Oral Roberts.
Yeah.
But for me, I learned, I loved my freshman year. I lived on campus. A lot of friends I have today because of my college year there. But I stayed home the second year, sophomore, so that Christmas came around and I had a decision to make because the tour rehearsal started in January. And I remember my mama telling me, "Nah, you ain't going on tour." And I'm like, "No, I'm 18. What you talking about? I could, kind of, And we had this planned trip to go back home to Charlotte for Christmas, and I told my mom, "Say no, you and Manuel, you guys go. I'm gonna stay home. I'm gonna stay here and I'm gonna fast because I wanna know what God wants. I don't want know what I want. You want. I want to know what God wants for me, right?" And so they went home to Charlotte. I was there in Tulsa by myself. Curtis and Sister Butler, my spiritual father, they was like 2 doors down, so I always had something to eat, and hang out. And I remember my mom came back. Manuela came back earlier than my mom came back, just after the 1st of January of that year. And Black mamas are kind of they're funny like this. She never said you can go. She said, I saw that movie, Sister Act 2, like 5 times. You can go on tour. And I was like, wait. How do you go? But I knew what she meant. I know what happened. See, she wanted to go, she saw that movie and she saw herself as, in the movie, is Lauryn Hill's mom that doesn't want Lauryn Hill to fulfill her dream as a singer and performer. And God spoke to her in that sense, like, hey, you're trying to keep your son away from something I have for him. So it was never like she didn't explain it. She's like, I saw that movie like 5 times. I think you should go on to it. I was like, say less, That wasn't a term yet, but in my mind it was like, say less. You know? And so, I started touring with Carmen. Then, went over to Kirk Franklin, Fred Hammond, did things with John P. Key, eventually did things with Tone. Of course, now Beast Slade now. But I toured for a better part of 5 years as a dancer and choreographer in the Christian music industry. I had opportunities to tour with SWV. I turned it down. People were like, why you doing it? Because I knew how hard it was to stay saved on a Christian tour. It was not going to be as good. I went on the second tour.
Right.
So I was like, I just knew my limit. I said, I don't want to put myself in those environments where I'm going to compromise what God has for me because the money may be better, but the environment is not.
Yeah.
And I see what's happening just both in the main and Christian industry. I was like, I'm cool.
Yeah. Got to be beyond reproach,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those integrity was always important to me.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's good. Talk to me about Club Sugar.
Club Sugar.
Yeah. We're coming around the corner on this one.
Man, Club Sugar. Yeah. Club Sugar started in 2003. It was a Christmas production I did for a church I was a part of at the time. We rented out the ECC, the Educational Cultural Center. I'm not sure if it still is on Ocean View Boulevard here in San Diego.
Not the World Beat, right?
No, it's not the World Beat. It's on Ocean View Boulevard, like in Southeast San Diego.
Yeah.
The area. And yeah, man, every night, man, people keep coming back because it was great. It was more like a Christmas production. It was about like a club in the 30s, and so it was all dressed up like Harlem Renaissance type thing. And so, I loved it. I loved the character and things like that. So I kind of revamped it in 2006.
Is this a play or
this is a musical play?
This is a musical play. Okay.
Yeah. And so I revamped it in 2006 and did it at the Lyceum Theater here in downtown San Diego. And it was more developed in terms of the storyline, the arc, the music and things like that. But even then, the vision I had for it, I really couldn't do it at its capacity because we didn't have the technology at the time for me to do exactly what I wanted to do. So I did what I could at that moment. And but it's always been in me to do the way I had originally intended and saw in 2006 when I revamped it, which to specify what that really is bringing a cinematic journey to the actual live stage production. So it opens up with this big number called Club Sugar Review, a music review. Then it transitions to film for like 8 to 10 minutes, giving a background of the main characters, Sugar, Chatter, and Missy, who grew up in Mississippi in the 20s in the juke joint era. Right, and so then it transitions back to the live stage where you're back in Spanish Harlem in 1935, and so I couldn't do that in 2006. But the technology has been so ever increasingly over the last 20 years.
Right,
it's like we can do this now.
Yeah,
and so when I moved back, we moved back to San Diego. We was in LA for 10 years from 2012 to 2022. That was on my heart. I need to do this. I need to do this in San Diego. This needs to be the birthplace of where this really happens. And so I got a piano from, I hadn't played the piano in like 10 years since I was in LA. So I bought a piano and just started working on the opening number, and we produced. I had some friends come over, producers, singers, and we just like laid down that opening number. And, then everyone, some people moved to Florida, the guy moved to St. I was like, man. So it was about maybe 3 months ago. And so for like good 4 years, man, it's kind of been in my heart. I just been, every song I wrote, I was just sitting on my phone, just like singing this song. Something good come out of Harlem. We go down by the Brooklyn Bridge. We hit, every song I was writing for the last 4 years has been on my phone. And so, and I know it's the Holy Spirit because, I was listening to Fats Waller, he's back in the 30s, 40s, 20s, he was really big. Just on repeat, just one song, and it popped in my head or just in my spirit. Why can't I just use the tools that AI presents to get all these songs out there the way I want them? Then I have the sheet music made and stems made for the band. Because what kind of stopped me was like everybody had left, and I was like, I ain't had no musicians, I ain't had nobody to really kind of help me bring these songs to life. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, so it was kind of in me then, and so over the last 2.5 months, I'm up to 15 songs out of the 20 that I need to write for the show. And ever since I start posting things, I've been using all the AI tools I have, from video to imagery and things like that, to kind of really create this world of what I've been seeing for 20 years, right? To visually kind of show people what it is. And that's when I started getting calls, man. My good friend Noel Alterton, he's part of one of the pioneers of Christian hip hop with Dynamic Twins. He called me up. He's like, bro, man, I saw you thinking about Club Sugar, man. I work for Disney. I was like, yeah. It's like, but this is the kind of stuff I do, man. How can I be a part, And, just they make all the calls and texts coming. I was like, coming out of nowhere, because they know me for what I do. Like, this is Darius. This is his element. He wants to, when he does something, he's going to do something big. It ain't going to be nothing small. And so I've always been like that. So it's just been the opportunity to see that, seeing my daughters want to be a part of it, either on stage or behind the stage. My wife's like, what can I do? I want to be a part of it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And because, like I say, it's something that I know has not been able to, or has not been done on stage at this point, the way I see it. And I sat down with my good friend Noel from he works at works with Disney. He's a tech director, does all those kind of shows. He's like, bro, you're gonna get some awards. I said, I know I am, but that's not the point. This is gonna be this. I want this show to be everyone around the world know that this started in San Diego. This show, like, I want to use talent. I want to use the local talent. I want to use other people, and also the cinematic version of it, or the cinematic part of it, will mainly be shooting that in the South, because that's all juke joint stuff, right? If you know what Sinners is, and not like what Sinners is, but just the whole juke joint era, what that vibe is,
right?
That's a part of the cinematic journey of the show. But it's a very intricate type show, very detailed. The moment you walk in, you're gonna be transported into Harlem. Even the pre-show, people won't even know. The pre-show is actually part of the show, and how all those things collide. So the story about Sugar, Chatter, and Missy, 3 lifelong friends who traveled from Mississippi to Spanish Harlem in the mid-30s with a dream to make it big in music. They come into a community on the fringes of the Great Depression. The Harlem Renaissance is pretty much at this time kind of fading out, and they step into a community that's unemployed. The musicians, the artists, the dancers and things like that. Everyone, there's a sense of loss of hope in this community in Spanish Harlem, 116th and 3rd Avenue. So this dream that Sugar has is like, let's pull everybody together. He one of the young ladies that's in the show, her name is Carmela. She's a Puerto Rican. At this time, Spanish Harlem was consisted of blacks, Puerto Ricans, and Italians, right? Before then, it was mainly all an Italian neighborhood. So they come into this very diverse community. They're from the South. They're bringing their juke joint sound, now coupled with this Latin sound and the big band era that's happening. And so Carmela is she's an ex-chorus girl that worked in the Cotton Club, a part of the Great Depression. People lost their jobs. She's one of those people. And so Sugar and her come up with this idea, how about we put something together with our community and do this music review, right? This music review number as an opportunity to audition for the Cotton Club, and we get our chance, right? And so the show actually opens up with this big musical number, but then it takes you 15 years back into the cinematic journey of these 3 young people, Sugar, Chatter, and Missy, growing up in the juke joint. Then it shows the transition visually on the screen from children to adults, and they're making their way to Harlem, and it opens back up. You're back in the Spanish Harlem, so it's very, the way it's going to be done is going to be very, very, very unique and very, very. You're going to feel like you're part of the same journey, right?
Yeah.
And so when they get back there, there's a moment in history in 1935 in the spring. This is when they arrive. There's a riot that takes place in Harlem. And one of the songs in the show is called Riot in Harlem. And they show up during that time. And the backdrop of that riot is kind of interesting. The riot started because a young boy, black Puerto Rican kid named Lino Rivera, he steals a pocket knife from the department store on 125th Street in Harlem. And the employees and the owner, like, they, in so many words, like, do a citizen's arrest, right? And it becomes this altercation inside the store. They take him down to the basement. The police come, and then, people outside, they see what's going on. And then, like, moments later, they see an ambulance show up behind roll up to behind the department store. And some lady's like, they done killed Lino. And so this riot takes place, like any riot, it's always this one thing that kind of the straw that breaks the camel back, but it's always other things that's going on. Poverty, education, blah, blah, blah. And so, but the story behind that is the police released Lino. It was the owner that had a heart attack. That's why the ambulance was there. So Lino's on the way home. He chilling. This riot going on in Harlem. Buildings have been burned. People getting killed. It's like police brutality. So the song that they walk into Harlem, Spanish Harlem with, is a song called "The Riot in Harlem." There's a riot in Harlem, brutality, in the hot street of Harlem. It's very. If I can let y'all hear just a little, I'm gonna give you a little sneak. I'm gonna let you guys hear a little sneak of it. But so every song in the show is either educational or it really takes you and really captivate the moment of what's happening in Harlem at that time. Here we go. I don't know if you guys can hear. There's a riot in Harlem, brutality, by the police in Harlem. What's happening? There's a fire in Harlem, fatalities in the dark streets of Harlem. They told us that Lino stole a knife from the department store. They told us that he was dead, and the awful news began to spread. Poverty. Let's talk about it. Brutality. Let's shout about it. Equality. Can't have love without it. If nothing changes, it will stay the same. What's happening?
Crazy what AI can do, bro.
Yeah, bro. So I didn't have these tunes 20 years ago.
Yeah.
But I hear all this in my head, like,
Right,
how can I articulate this for a band? How can I articulate this for some singers? It's like, okay, I'm writing this song, I'm putting the music together just in my head, I'm just singing everything, I'm just doing everything, and then I'm gonna build it up and like, oh, that's what I see. It probably takes a lot of times 10 to 20 times to get exactly what I feel, but that's why I know it was a Holy Spirit moment that said, why can't you do this with these AI tools? I was like, I never thought about that. And so I called a good friend of mine who does like the AI music. That's his thing. He helps in build music and stuff for the programs. And he said, yo, man, check out this Suno, check out this. And I said, all right. So I did my own research and jumped on it. And just constantly, man, if I have a song in my head, I'm like, ooh, here's the bass line, blah, 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 here's it. And I'm just like, oh, man. And it's really cool. Now, every song, I've already downloaded all the stems. I made instrumentals. Every song is already, all the lyrics, all the instrumentals, all the music is all copywritten. Everything's already copywritten, all 15 songs. So that when the sheet music is given out, this is a body of what it feels like, what it sounds like.
Yeah.
But we're gonna even build from there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so it really is like, man,
This is the demo.
this is the demo of what this is
demo.
supposed to sound like. The ensemble, this is what you're supposed to sound like, but I want to use your voice. I want to use, and so it's been a great thing for me because like it brought back to life what I've had in my heart for 20 years.
Wow.
And I've been like, man, I can do this. It's
And when is
possible
that going to
now.
be dropping, you think? When's the first showing going to be, you think?
The goal is to do it the latter part of 2027 summer into the fall. That's the goal. And so if we're not ready by now, we'll push it. But when we do it, it has to be done right. And we're going to have to, make sure everything is on and popping. Yeah.
Gotcha.
What pieces are you needing most right now?
Well, the pieces needed most right now. I'm really building a lot of the core team. Like I said, I spoke to my good friend, which it is. He's coming in as a tech director. He's helping to bring in a lot of the crew, people that we need for that. And right now, the main focus is creating the lookbook so we can get investors involved. Right now, it's all about bringing in the money, bringing in the sponsors. I even reached out to Cafe Bustelo that started in New York. And it was very vibrant in the 1930s in Spanish Harlem as a coffee brand. I reached out to him and said, "Hey, can you guys want to be a sponsor for this show? It'd be all up in there, you know what I'm saying?" And so I'm looking for sponsorships, looking for investors that see the vision for this and seeing how grand this will be and become. Because I see it on Broadway. I see it as a show that can really make a mark and really be educational, inspirational, and just the story itself, man. I don't want to give the whole reveal away, but the story you see people walking away like, oh my God, that hit me in the area that I'm in my life, because people, being around people who are visionaries, dreamers, and have a passion for something, and seeing how, I wrote a book called The Greater the Purpose, the Longer the Process, and that is really ingrained in the theme and the arc of this show. Like this purpose or this passion they have to do something, but throughout the process, God shows his purpose. Yeah.
Why San Diego? Why is San Diego so heavy on your heart to like that it needs to be pushed through and breathed through? And San Diego coming from Carolinas and Tulsa and LA, like, and New York. I know you were in New York for some time too. Like, why is San Diego so heavy for you?
Because God gave me a vision years ago about the Spreckles, right?
Spreckles Theater.
Spreckles Theater, downtown San Diego. And I believe San Diego can be the Broadway on the West Coast.
Wow.
And so even when we moved to LA in 2012, I always knew I'll be back to San Diego because one day I'm going to buy that building. One day it's going to house Club Sugar. One day it's going to house musicals and events that local artists, musicians, everything. You don't have to leave San Diego. You can do it here.
Wow.
And so that's my passion. That's my heart, and that's why Club Sugar is so important because that is the foundation for how a lot of this is going to come to pass. I believe.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love that. I resonate with that, man. That's really the root of the MK Lab.
Yes.
Right. So the MK Lab was built so that people with talent, with gifting, with passion didn't have to move to LA, didn't have to move to Tennessee, didn't have to move to New York, to go and pursue their gifts. Like we built it in our backyard, because I grew up here, you know what I mean? And so like I have a real heart for all of our locals, you know what I mean? Whether you're from Mira Mesa, which like a lot of people will live and breathe by, but like just San Diego in general, you know what I mean? Like I want the artists and the talent and the creativity and the giftings to be here and like that they feel safe, they have a place here. And so I put in one of my songs that I haven't released like years ago before the MK Lab was even brought about. This was when we still had Smackin'. It was create communal spaces so we can implore creativity and positivity, take away a lesson from the crew next to me. And like that's what we're building here. You know what I mean? It's like a communal space where people can come, they can pour in their love, soul, and creativity. They're going to hear about God. That's how they're going to make a positive change in their lives, in the world, the community beside them. And yeah, man, it was a good hour and a half, I think, conversation. Learning about you and your whole life and
journey, bro.
Yeah, your whole journey, or not even your whole journey, but I know you got a lot
piece of it. Yeah,
yeah, I know you got a whole lot more to share, but maybe we'll save that for the next one. Anything else you got for this one, Frank?
Awesome, man. I appreciate your transparency. You know, digging deep for those stories right there, and now I love hearing the vision. You know, so keep talking about. I was just wondering if there was any casting calls going on right now. Like, you know, any characters you looking for? Anything else that you want to call by name right now? Anyone watching? Like,
yeah, definitely. The three main characters, or I would say the four main characters, because including Carmela, are very, very important to the show. The look, Sugar. I played Sugar, 2003 through 2006. I can't play Sugar no more. It's 20 years later. I can't do, because this is a very intense dancing. You talking about Lindy Hop, you talking about swing, you talking about this is, takes a young person to do that. I'm not that young anymore. I'm still young. But Sugar, Chatter, Missy. And so it's kind of giving Sugar is SSHUGA, Sugar Washington. He's a singer, he's a dancer, he's a musician. He does it all. He's the performer, right? Chatter is his best friend and almost kind of like his muscle in a sense, like a rough, tough type of guy. But the reason why they call him Chatter is because his feet can talk. He's a great tap dancer, and that's more revealed in the show. But that's why it's called Chatter. And Missy, so Sugar's black, Chatter's black. They're all from Greenville, Mississippi, but Missy is a white redhead girl, right? And they all grew up together under the guardianship of Mae West. She owned the juke joint, and it's named after my grandma, Mae West, right? And so she houses them and takes care of them, and they grew up in her juke joint. So they're like brothers and sisters, lifelong friends, but truly like family. And them, and also Carmela, she's Puerto Rican, and she's like I said, she was an ex-chorus girl at the Cotton Club, so she sings, she dances. So those four characters are like really, they have to be spot on, right? Sugar, he has to have the charisma, the performance. He has to be me 20 years ago when I'm gonna do all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Right. Chatter, very loyal friend, right? There for Missy, there for Sugar. Missy, she's the business. She's the mind. She's the brains of the operation. That's actually shown very well in the cinematic journey of the show. How she's very business minded. She's not real big with singing and dancing, but she's like the glue that keeps that core together. So she's kind of like the rough, tough type girl, but very, very soft heart. And Carmela, of course, she's Puerto Rican, and she grew up in Spanish Harlem. So you got to have that accent. You got to be able to speak Spanish. You got to, have, you can't be front. It has to be real and authentic for us. And so those are the four characters that I'm really holding close to my heart, right? We can cast other people, we can mix things around, but those four people are really, really vital to the show.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
There it is.
Yes.
There it is.
So Chatter, Sugar, Missy, Carmela, if you're out there, hit us up, man. You can reach out to me at Director Darius West, or at Darius West. We do have a landing page that's being probably being loaded up by the end of next week, so people can go there and learn all about the show, all the different auditions that are coming out, the different characters and things like that. So that'll be available for people. But like I say, if you're watching the show and you think that's you, reach out to me.
Sounds good. Yeah, that'll all be listed in the show notes as well.
Yes.
But that wraps it up for this episode of Building Side by Side. I'm Christian.
I'm Frank.
Thank you so much, Darius, for coming through. We appreciate you, bro.
Appreciate you, man.
Peace.
Peace.